It's amazing. I mean, what'd you expect? It's the freaking follow-up to the Breath of the Wild. Of course it's amazing. Come on.
The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is finally here, and oh my god, is it so much fun? Yes. Is it DLC for Breath of the Wild? No, it's not. Remember before this game came out, everyone was sitting there thinking, oh, it's not going to be that much better. There's no way they can top a masterpiece. There's no way that it's going to be anything more. It's not going to be as fun. It's not going to be as exciting. It's going to just be DLC. Blah, blah, blah. Guess what? You're wrong. And apparently in 3 days, 10 million other people also agreed that you're wrong because this game sold 10 million copies in 3 days. It's just like Splatoon 3. Remember that one? It's crazy. Which brings me to a very fun and interesting point that I actually heard, I think it was on the Nintendo podcast with Woods and Wolfden, Bob, stuff like that, said that Nintendo, after this game hits 20 million, will have 8 first-party Nintendo games that have sold over 20 million copies on the Nintendo Switch. 8! Okay, Xbox has 0. PlayStation got close with Spider-Man in 2018 with 19.8 million, I think, something like that. But Nintendo has 8. So all you fanboys out there that are still to this day talking smack about this stupid little machine, you're wrong. Just, you can't fight statistics. I am not saying PlayStation's bad. I'm not saying Xbox is bad. They both have great games. I'm so excited for Spider-Man 2. That game looks awesome. The first Spider-Man game was phenomenal. I watched people play it on Twitch. Miles Morales, cool. God of War, Horizon, great. Xbox, the Halo Infinite was fun for like a week with my friends online. But this bad boy's been in my pocket for 6 to 7 years now, going everywhere I go. And I continue to play it day in and day out. But that is not what this video is about. This video is not about me gushing over my absolute love for you, Zelda. Nintendo Switch. This video is all about how I feel with my first 10 hours impressions of Tears of the Kingdom. So before we get in that, to the meat and potatoes of this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more, come on down, hang out with me, I'm AndyB. We like to talk about video games. So is this game better or worse than Breath of the Wild? So it took me 6 years to finally beat Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I gave it an arbitrary score of 8 to 10. I say that because I'm just one single person in a huge flooded sea of people screaming their opinions on the internet, right? People think it's a masterpiece. I didn't think it was that much of a masterpiece. I gave it a really high review and really great review after I beat it. It took me 82 hours, gave it an 8 out of 10. Cool? Sure, whatever. Now, is this game better? After 10 hours, I can confidently already say, yes, it is. Because every single thing I loved about Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, they did better for Tears of the Kingdom. Everything I hated about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, they did better for Tears of the Kingdom. It doesn't even make sense to me how much better this game is than Breath of the Wild. Every single little thing is just completely upgraded, almost, in a sense. Like, all the little annoying, minuscule details that I couldn't stand about Breath of the Wild, like weapon degradation, stuff like that, they've figured out a way to kind of make people like me more interested. So we're gonna get more to that in a second. We're gonna break this down a little bit because we'll start with the pros, because there's obviously a lot of them, just like there was for Breath of the Wild. And then we'll go with some of my cons, like I did with my Breath of the Wild video. But again, this is just after 10 hours. I haven't scratched the surface of this game, okay? I'm basically just running around the map, doing all the shrines, going all the sky towers, unlocking the map, just kind of seeing what everything is because it's so much different than Hyrule in the first game, in Breath of the Wild. And there's 3 of them because there's the Sky Islands, there's Hyrule, and then there's the Depths, which I haven't even began to touch yet. I'm gonna play this game for hundreds of hours, and I'm okay with that. I'm so excited. So my biggest thing, right? Here, let's do it this way. Here's what we're gonna do. Let's take my cons from Breath of the Wild, talk about how they got flipped upside down and now are pros for Tears of the Kingdom. First one is the shrines. Now, if a lot of you guys remember, those shrines sucked. I don't care what you say. You can sit there and say that you liked them because some of them were okay. But at the end of the day, those shrines were pretty crap, dude. Some of them were just dumb. Some of my favorite ones, honestly, were just me going in there and test your strength or your might or whatever, and you have to fight, one of the ancient things. Those were fun and interesting, and it gave you some really good items. But some of them, like when you had to use the Switch's gyroscope thing and like move the ball, I get it. It's a gimmick. The game just came out on the Nintendo Switch. It was the first game, really, and they wanted to show off some of the stuff that you could do with it. But it's like stuff like that was just so annoying and boring. But you jump into Tears of the Kingdom, and every shrine essentially tells you, you go in, you go, you got to get from this point to this point, right? You do this or this. It tells you the little things that you got to do. You can do them in a million different ways with all the new abilities that are in this game, like Ultra Hand, which is the ability kind of where you could just grab stuff and fuse them together. Or there's the fuse ability where you can grab items and fuse them to your weapons and stuff like that. And there's the recall ability, which has you go up or reverse time from when something happened with an item. And then there's the other one where you can escape up through things. I know, I don't remember what it's called, I'm sorry. There's other abilities that I haven't even unlocked yet. And I've seen people play online and stuff like that, which seems really cool and interesting. But it adds such an interesting and unique way to play the shrines, because then you can beat it however you want. So they give you different items in these shrines. And like I said, they tell you go from point A to point B, but endless possibilities of how you can do it. I have beaten a shrine, gone back to YouTube and watched someone else beat it and go, I never even thought to do it that way. Unbelievable. So much fun. And some of them are just like in Breath of the Wild, where it is just like, beat up this construct. It's like, okay, cool. You get cool items, stuff like that. It's fun. But every single time I go into a shrine, I'm actually kind of invested in it. In Breath of the Wild, especially after the game being out for so long, I'm gonna admit it, I didn't solve any of them. I went online and just watched a walkthrough for most of them. If I went in there and I was like, this looks complicated, I don't have the time for this, because I was just trying to beat the game, just so I can finally have it beaten. I haven't done that once for this game. I'm so enthralled by everything. I have, like I said, looked at how other people beat them after I've beaten them, but I just, you get stuck and you just figure it out. And it's so freaking cool and it's so fun. Weapon degradation in this game is still there. I feel like it's not as bad. I don't think the items break nearly as quick as they used to, like in Breath of the Wild. They still obviously do, and it is frustrating, but here's a cool, interesting thing you can do. Say your weapon's about to break, right? You got a sword. You're like, yeah. You know, Link's running around, he's beating up bulk of goblins and all kinds of things. And it gets to the point where it's red in your menu and starts to break. Fuse it to a rock. Durability's back up, baby. And now it's got like +4 because of the rock. So you can do that with basically any item you want. It's pretty cool too, because you can fuse different items to make like elemental items, which is really cool. So I had a sword, and I fused it with, I can't remember exactly what the fire item was. Guess what? It was a fire rod. I was shooting fireballs. I was like, that's amazing. The bow and arrow. Holy cow. The possibilities with that one. We saw that in the trailers, you know, and stuff like that when they showed off the fuse ability. But actually sitting down and playing it, holy crap, that is so much fun. One of my favorite things to do is use the bomb plant and just shoot bombs at people, blowing up stuff. Like, one of the new enemies in the game are those walking trees that are pretty tough, in my opinion. They beat the crap out of you, but you just blow them up with your bombs, buddy. You just shoot them with a bomb arrow, and they just blow up so quick. It's awesome. So much fun. And there was a duplication glitch that was out for a little while, where you did like the shield jump, and then you go on your menu, select 5 of one item, cancel out real fast, and it drops to the floor. Well, those 5 that dropped to the floor never were subtracted from your menu, so when you pick those back up, you get an additional +5. Since been patched, but I did that with my bombs, so now I've got like a bunch of bombs. I did that with like some diamonds and stuff like that, so I can just sell items whenever I want to get more money. Yeah, awesome. So weapon degradation, was it fixed? Not necessarily, but they did add something like that, and it's really cool. Another thing that I really hated about Breath of the Wild was the stamina wheel in general. How long it takes you to get from point A to point B. It's still here, obviously. The base game is still the same, but certain things like swimming, it doesn't go down as fast as it used to. So you can get from go across the pond if you needed to, you know, from America to Europe, whatever. It's not gonna wear it out really quick. But a really cool, that new ability that they put in the game, where if you're in a dungeon, if you're like in a cave or something and you're like exploring, there's, you know, you're like down at the bottom and the underground of it and stuff like that, and you've been climbing through this cave for a while. You're like, man, I gotta backtrack. Like, you get to the end of it, you beat it. There's a little mini boss, whatever, Stone Atlas, something like that. You beat it, you get to the end, you're like, man, I gotta go all the way back up there. Nope, use the ability, find a spot on the ceiling that it works. Boop, pew. You're out. Back on the free land, man. You're back. You're out. You're out of this stupid freaking cave. They just make everything streamlined and so much more unique and fun. Especially the story. So Breath of the Wild takes place 100 years after you lost to Calamity Ganon, right? You basically died. You're in the Chamber of Resurrection, all these cool different things. Not the case here. So I haven't played much of it, and I'm not going to spoil anything that happens because I know the game's only been out for a week. There's some people who haven't gotten it yet, and you might be finding this video before you start playing the game. You're asking AndyB, hey, buddy, why you spoil that for me? I haven't played it yet. It's not going to happen. But I will tell you, the first 20 minutes of this game was much more captivating story-wise than all of Breath of the Wild. They set you up with so much at the first 20 minutes of this game. And continuing on after you get out of the first part and you start going through some of the story beats, you're learning more things and it gets interesting. I can't wait to see how this unfolds. I can't wait to see where this goes. We know though that the developers always choose gameplay and mechanics over the story for both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. We understand that, but it seems like there was a little more emphasis on the story this time. And that's also what makes the world in Tears of the Kingdom so much more interesting and fun than Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild takes place 100 years after Calamity Ganon has killed you and has been ruling over Hyrule, so it's a desolate wasteland. Tears of the Kingdom, if anyone knows, it might be a spoiler, I don't know, I'm not far, like I said. How long is this after the events of Breath of the Wild? After you've beaten Calamity Ganon and stuff like that, and you and Zelda are running wild and you're rebuilding the great land of Hyrule. Does anyone know how long it is? If you do, leave a comment down below or not. It might be a spoiler, I don't know, they haven't really said much. But this takes place sometime after, and Hyrule is starting to kind of be rebuilt and starting to flourish a little bit. So there's so much more activity, there's so much more personality in the world. And that was another thing that I hated about Breath of the Wild. Yeah, there was some side quests and stuff like that. Whatever, sure. But none of them make sense. None of them really seemed interesting enough for me. And the NPCs were boring. This one, they're so much more lively and they have interesting things to say, and it's fun. Just everything about this game is just fun. And surprisingly, I don't know how the Switch runs it because there's a lot going on. I will admit there are a lot of big frame rate drops, especially using Ultra Hand, especially when there's a lot of enemies on the screen. It gets really muggy, but overall, the game's freaking gorgeous. It took the original art style of Breath of the Wild and it was just like, here's some steroids, injected, color, beautiful, so crisp and clean, especially on an OLED model. It's lovely. The Sky Islands, some of my most favorite color schemes and designs. I love that like gold and crispness to it. I love the light shining on it. I love the season of fall, especially in video games, and they captured it so well in the Sky Islands in this game. Like, I like to just get up there, just kind of walk around and just enjoy the view. And then you look down and you can just see everything down there. You can see shrines, you can see the gyroglyphs, you can see towns. It's crazy how good they made this game look, especially on this freaking chip that's been in this thing since 2015. Like, it's time for an upgrade, but yet they somehow can manage to make this thing run this well. Because then when you jump off the Sky Islands and you're diving back down to Hyrule, it doesn't skip a beat, my friend. It just goes. And it's so good. I don't understand how these freaking magicians and wizards did it. Which leads me to another point, that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet could have been something like this. But I'm not going to talk about that because we're going to wrap this video up here now, because I just wanted to say thank you guys for watching so much. And as always, catch you guys on the next one. Play Tears of the Kingdom. Good night. Good night or good morning, whatever time it is in your life. I don't know.